So everyone, this is Quakeman. I haven't done an intro like that in a long while. This is my friend Xenogelion. Hello. Oh, you're just staring in the camera, aren't you?
Yeah.
So this is a first kind of video I'm going to be doing, probably with Xeno again or other friends or whatever works in discussion of debate in some way. This was something that has been on my mind for a long time, as most people have heard me through streams, but I told it to him and he wanted to have fun with it. So we're going to do that. So the whole debate here is that there was a question long time ago that regenerated health makes games too easy. And I argue that it can and can't depending on the mechanical design. And I wanted to go through multiple games and genres in certain ways. But however, we are going to stick to mostly first person shooters and some third person shooters, depending on the situation. So I will let you present your argument first, Zeno, to see what you have to say about that topic. Go ahead.
So, for everyone's benefit, I am a 90s gamer. I started gaming when I was 7 years old, and the first game I ever played was Sonic the Hedgehog. Either that or Doom, I'm not entirely sure. But way back when, in those eras, we had health pickups, we had regen stations, we had loads of different things. And I remember the first instance to me, the first time I ever encountered it, where health regen was a thing, was the original Halo on Xbox. You know, on the I want to say Xbox One, but it's not the Xbox One. It's the first Xbox. When I first saw Halo with the regenning health, my instant reaction was that's shit, right? Because everyone I know has to cheese the game in some different degree, right? Be it the Pokemon Go, be it some piece of coursework they have to do. Everyone takes the shortest possible route to success. And with self healing, health with health regen, that's the word I'm trying to look for. One of the big things about it is the fact that, oh no, I'm on low health. Hide behind rock, wait for health to come back, step out, start shooting stuff. At that point, I don't like it.
Well, technically, Halo did have a health bar. It's just Halo 2 and onwards is when they got rid of it, and so you, it's a little complicated because like Halo 2 has a health bar, it's just you don't see it and it resets the moment your shield comes back. It's like one of those things. But yeah, in Halo 1, it had the regenerative shield, um, and you had the actual health bar. And if you're playing on like uh, heroic or legendary, you can lose your health like that. Like it is not easy, but yes. The first iteration that I know of regenerative health relatively is technically Halo, if you want to count the shield system. Um, I feel like there's a game that was earlier than that, but I could be completely wrong. I'm still doing research on all of that, so I don't have all my research, but I need to figure that out. Anything else you want to add, or is that it?
Yeah, I mean, this was obviously coming off of the back of playing games like Half-Life, like Quake 2, Quake 3, so on and so forth. So going from those games where you had to be quite strategic in how you played, you had to be careful, like, oh no, there's a health station there. This is also coming back from the time when auto saves didn't exist. You had save, hit escape, go file save, or there was a
Or press one
save
of the F
option.
keys to quick save, quick
Quick
load.
save, yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was that same era as health pickups and things. And don't get me wrong, I'm totally down for the quick save thing because, like, random story, Metal Gear Solid 3, me and a friend of mine decided to do a no deaths playthrough. No spotted. So we didn't get to see no alerts playthrough of the entire game. And we got all the way to the boss named The End, right? It
Hmm.
wasn't actually the end of the game. It was a sniper boss. And he spotted us. And as a result, we're like, oh, we're gonna have to restart and so on and so on. And we realized we hadn't saved for 12 hours.
Yeah, it's It is definitely one of those things, especially this day and age for me, when you played a lot of the modern games that have come out, mostly like majority of the Call of Duty games, obviously, and all the games that were released, and they don't have manual saves, they have the checkpoint system. And then when you go back to things like the original Deus Ex, which this happened to me on stream once. I you played the original Deus Ex?
Barely. I wasn't really
Yeah.
one for RPGs or anything.
No, no, that's fine. So I got like halfway through the intro part of the game, blew myself up. I'm like, oh damn, that sucks. Click the button, back at Liberty Island. I'm like, oh, I didn't save. So like when you get used to that, yeah, yeah. But that's completely off topic to the point we're getting at. That's my fault. But so that's all you got to add, just to make sure.
Pretty much, it just feels like way back when these sorry, with the health regen, it felt like a lazy way to cheapen the first person experience to give the game a better score because more people had a higher chance of actually completing the game because it was just easy.
Maybe so. The perspective I give is that yes, relatively games like Halo and most games later on did, add the regenerated health in some way, shape, or form because most people can tell you that when you play the N64 and try to play GoldenEye or Perfect Dark or some of those old games, those are really difficult with that controller. So I understand that argument is understandable, but then I try to look at things on a mechanical design level on how they handle the system. I think regenerate health in itself is not a bad mechanic just because it's introduced in the game. Now, yes, games like Call of Duty and Halo don't do a whole lot with its system, like past Halo 2 onwards. Besides, yes, you take damage, you go behind cover, and you shoot. That's why I feel like the game should have added time limit on certain missions a little bit more, because then it gives pressure to the person of being like, do I want to sit here and wait to get my shield back up, or should I push forward to deal with the time limit? That's what made Call of Duty 4 a much more interesting experience playing on veteran, because there's a mission where you have 4 minutes to finish, and on veteran, that's painful because you almost die in 2 hits, and so you don't have a whole lot of time to sit and regen. So that works.
So when you're talking about Call of Duty 4, you're talking about Modern Warfare.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was just confirming that.
Yeah, yeah.
See, I absolutely despised that game. I used to play a lot of the original Call of Duties, so the ones that were made primarily out of the Quake 3 engine.
Well, they're all made out of
And
the Quake 3 engine. They're still made out of the Quake 3 engine.
really?
Yes, unless they change it later on. Every time I look into it, it's been using the Quake. It's been using derivative of the Quake 3 engine for years.
I'd imagine they would have heavily modified it by now.
Yes.
I'm also surprised that they didn't migrate over to the Unreal Tournament engine. Sorry, the Unreal engine.
I don't know. Activision.
Yeah, more money. Anyway, the I played a lot of COD 2 and COD 3. No 3 was on console only, wasn't it?
Three was only on consoles. There's the first
Yeah.
Call of Duty on PC, which is the one that got the most attention, and then two was released, which was the first one to add the regenerated health system to it. Um, and then from that onward, it was always an every game.
So when I played COD 4 Modern Warfare, I was so disappointed in the game because there seemed to be little to no plot, and it just felt when you're playing the with the British SAS, right, our equivalent
When you're
special
playing as
forces.
Soap and with Price,
I don't know their names. I
I do. I know the
was
story pretty well, but go on.
fair enough. When you're playing with them and you don't have an opportunity to kill anyone because the second the enemy is in line of sight with any of those NPCs, they're just like dead. I was bored, right? Not only that, when you were playing on the American narrative, when you're playing as an American military soldier, and nothing you could do would actually kill you. I actually, apart from one time when I accidentally threw a grenade at a wall, That did kill me. But I was just like, I don't find any enjoyment in this. And the thing that stopped me playing COD 4 was there was a point in the narrative after you freed, I want to say, a Russian spy or a Russian defector.
Were you playing as SAS?
Yeah,
Yeah, you were rescuing your
you're
friend Nikolai.
right. So you're rescuing your friend Nikolai, and as you're partway through the narrative, Nikolai is attacked by a German Shepherd. Right, so a dog just comes charging at him, and as that's happening, right, I'm shooting at the dog. Nothing happens. Right, the dog then bites Nikolai, and he punches it, and the dog goes down. I'm like, hold on, what the hell? Why didn't my gun do anything? I got so angry, I just stopped the game entirely, and I never played it again.
Because it's trying to be a cutscene and, you know, trying to predetermine itself, which I understand most people don't like that. I didn't mind that because I didn't treat Call of Duty as like an adventure the same way you would with like Doom or Half-Life. I treated it as a super soldier, well, not super soldier, but like, army action dude, like watching The Rock with what was it? Sean Connery and I think Nicolas Cage or something like that. Like
I
that's what I
actually thought you meant Dwayne Johnson when you said The
no,
Rock.
it's a
No,
movie.
no, good movie though. Good movie
Yeah,
though.
but like that's how I saw it. I mean, the games went so far as referencing that movie in Modern Warfare 2 and stuff. So I treat them more as just like fun action games than an experience. It's why I never put those games on pedestals as I do with these other games that I talk about. So I understand that perspective. So the thing I'm leading into is that the concept of regenerated health can be handled pretty well depending on how the mechanical design goes through. The first game that did it in a way that I thought was incredibly impressive was Splinter Cell Conviction. I have no idea if you've ever played or cared about Splinter Cell, or
Yes, I played the first three,
yeah,
I think.
it was just Splinter Cell, Pandora Tomorrow, Chaos Theory. Those are the first three.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So Conviction was the fifth one that was released, and it's the one that most people don't like. I like this one. I understand that the game is a little bit more actiony. You can't really like non-kill. You kind of have to kill people, but for plot reasons, I get why. So how this game handles itself is that there is regenerated health, but how it functions is it doesn't just start filling your health back up the moment you're out of danger. If you are detected and people are looking for you, kind of like Metal Gear Solid's like, alert mode, your map's gone and stuff like that. Your health does not regenerate during that entire phase. It's until the people are like, shit, we lost him. And then everyone's back to like slowly walking around. Then your health will slowly start to regenerate back. So it makes you think carefully about your engagement. So you can't just take cover, regenerate, and then go back to killing people. You actually have to think carefully about when you get detected. And so it makes getting trapped a little bit easier. So, like, if you're low on health and your screen is like flashing red and then an enemy runs towards you, well, you can't do much. You could die instantly or you can kill them quickly, depending on the situation. And so that's how you can handle the system well. Battlefield 3 handles it to where, at least in the multiplayer, it regenerates incredibly slow. So you can't just kill one target, hide behind cover, wait 4 seconds, then you're back to full health. And that helps with the medic class being useful. So that's how you can handle the system in different ways, is to help the player understand the danger they're in and not just take cover, you're back to full health. All the Metro games have the medic system where you have regenerated health, but it's incredibly slow, but you also have these little medic devices that you can stab yourself to get your health back. So it's kind of like a balanced reward system. So yes, I would say that it did make certain games a little bit easier, especially when they turn it into Rainbow Six Vegas 2. That's where I agree with people on that game. But at the same time, it also depends on how the developers are handling the game. If they throw it in the game with no balancing act for it, that's where it becomes a problem. Gears of War, I felt, had that problem. Halo had that problem in some cases. And a lot of other modern games that got rebooted, like Medal of Honor, also had that. But at the same time, there's a lot of examples that does it pretty well. Is there anything you want to add?
So yeah, so I think a lot of this comes down to early conceptual designs of games in general. So one of the big things, do you know what UX UI is?
No.
UX stands for user experience. Yeah, I know it's the letter X, but and experience starts with E, but user experience and then user interface. So some games have an absolutely brilliant UI, right, and UX, and other games have an absolutely trash UI UX. One of the common games that comes to mind with how bad its UI was, and I might accidentally kick a hornet's nest here for you, is Anthem. The UI on that was freaking horrific. It was not designed for the mouse, right?
I've not seen any gameplay or any footage of it, so I can't say anything. But go on.
I- I'm not going to continue down that rabbit hole, even though I really want to. I will point out, I will agree with you entirely. It's down to integration of how the mechanic of auto health regen works. How it's implemented in the game. There's one game I would argue did a fantastic job of auto health regen or just health regen. Yeah, and that's Borderlands.
Yeah, there's different ways health regen works in Borderlands. Um,
So
there's
no,
like
I'm talking about the main way, right? So the problem I had with Halo was that, oh no, I'm on low health. I'll go hide behind this rock. Ha ha, they can't get me because they're too stupid. Now my health is regened. As opposed to Borderlands, where, I'm running low on health. The only way I can actually get more health is to kill dudes. So I have to carefully kill dudes to get my health back up.
depend on your perk. Like when I play Mordecai, Mordecai has a perk that every time you get a kill, you get some health regen for 7 seconds. There's also some shields that have a passive auto regen and some class mods that can have a health regen. But
Yeah, yeah.
you're mostly dealing with your shields than your health in the beginning of the game. So you still kind of want to take cover, but sometimes your health is there as a buffer if your shield goes out. That's kind of what I like about Halo 1, because your shield is that buffer, but your health is where you're endangered. Also, to add on with Halo is that the AI is based off of difficulty, because if you're playing on Legendary, they will rush you. So even if you take behind cover,
Interesting.
they will rush you. It's even worse with grunts because they will suicide bomb you too. They will take out plasma grenades and run at you. Like that's another thing is AI is also important on how they handle it, and that's a completely different topic entirely. But AI stuff is also very fascinating to me on game
Well,
difficulties.
going going on what you're saying, right? One of the mentality of a game being enjoyable only when you get harder difficulties into the game, I dislike. Unless it's something crazy like a Souls game or Devil May Cry or Resident Evil, anything, basically anything that's Japanese, right? Where easy is an option, you want to go easy just to bloody get through the game. But the other thing was that I had a point. I had a point. Diablo 3, right? Not a first person shooter, arguably not a third person shooter.
I'll
But
let it slide for the description.
the important thing is it only got difficult or challenging when you upped the difficulty of the game. And when the game first came out, the only way to do that was to constantly cycle through the narrative and getting the harder difficulty each time. So
Yeah,
when you completed it on normal, you could do it on hard. When you completed it on hard, you could do expert. On expert, you could do master, so on and so forth. Right? That I feel is bad gameplay design, right? Because you're only making a challenge in later difficulty because you're forcing replay value. And
that is definitely an issue. Like, there's a lot of people who have argued, like in Doom 3, the nightmare difficulty, which is a nightmare to deal with anyways. I've only beaten it once in my life, but nightmare difficulty only unlocks when you beat the game once. And there's always that argument, why isn't this available day one? And there's different sides. Some people feel like it should be available day one because you bought a game, you should have access to all the content. But some people feel like, well, what if you've never played this game before? It lets you lead into it, give you practice, and then when you feel ready for that, you unlocked it for that challenge. So it's like both arguments are pretty much right. Um, it just depends on what the developers want. Also, was that how Diablo 3 handled its difficulty when it first launched? Because you have access to expert day one. It's you have to reach
It
reach level 70 to access torment, and then you have to like
No,
beat.
no, no, no. This was back with the original where you only went up to 60, and
Okay,
you
so
had
yeah.
the only way to get infernal, right, which was the equivalent of torment mode, was to actually complete
Okay.
the game on different
Yeah,
difficulties,
I picked up Diablo 3 like after Reaper of Souls came out, so it was after
which is
that
the
update.
right time to pick it up.
Yes. Anyways, now the one thing that I wanted to lead into, because we were talking about two different health systems, well, mostly one of them over the other, but you have the static health system, which games like Quake, Doom, Wolfenstein, Duke Nukem, Half-Life, all of those games introduced. And then, the regenerated health, which started relatively with, Halo's shield system, but mostly with Halo 2, then Call of Duty, and almost every game of the 360 console generation. But there is a health system that has been introduced a couple of times that some people forget exist, and it's the one that I think melds the two ideas pretty well. Have you ever heard of the bar system with health? Games like Far Cry 3
No.
had it.
I got bored of Far Cry 3 when it turned around and said, "Oh, you need to get a cheetah wallet in order to hold more money. Can I just use a burlap sack? Is that too
Yeah.
much to ask?"
So the health bar system, or the bar system, or semi regenerate, I don't know what to describe it per se. But basically, what it is there you have a health system that is separated in like bars. The first game that I know of that introduced to that was Pariah, which was a game that DE made a long time ago for the Xbox and PC. I really wish they would re-release that. By the way, that is a system where like you take damage, and if you lose part of the bar and you don't take damage, the bar regenerates. But the moment you lose the bar, that bar's gone until you get a health pack or a health machine or whatever you want to call it. Games like, I believe, Condemned 2 Bloodshot did that. Far Cry 3 did that. Um, what was another game that did it? Pariah, like I mentioned, did that. There's a few games that have done that system to where it drops in certain bar increments, but then you can get that back if you find either a med pack or you carry the med packs or something of the sort. And that's another system that you can introduce to still keep regenerated health, but also still give some challenge to the player to where they still have to manage their health in some way. Are you thinking?
Yeah, no, I actually realised what you're talking about when you said the bar system, and yeah, I mean, I've not really played many games that have had a bar system, but I'm certainly interested. Like, I kind of want to propose a poll to your audience.
If I mean,
So
I don't know how to do polls, but we'll figure that later. But
I'll talk you through it.
yeah, I'll definitely drop something down and let people have fun. Um,
So I'm interested to know are what type of health system do they prefer in their games, right? So, and I think they should leave a comment in the section below, basically saying my preference is third person shooter, my preference is first person shooter, my preference is RPG, whatever game that they play. But I'm interested. Are they in? Do they prefer static med kits like Doom, right? Even the 2016 one. Do they prefer health regen like
Call of Duty.
Halo, where you can get it all back, or Call of Duty? Do they prefer the Borderlands or Diablo 3 way of doing it, where you kill dudes, they drop health things, you can get health back, or this bar thing that you're describing?
Yeah, and I think they all work in their own way. That's the reason why I like game design, because one game can handle it greatly, and other games can do it poorly. One game that had regenerated health that did it incredibly poorly was Clive Barker's Jericho, which sucks because the game is actually really cool, but the regenerated health is so terribly broken on telling the player when they're about to be dead, and it doesn't help. Like most games, like when your screen's flashing red, you could like maybe take a hit or two before you're dead. In Jericho, the moment you see the eye lines, like of a bloodshot eye on your screen, you're dead. Like the moment
Wow.
you almost see that, you're already dead. You can't go into cover. Like it's so broken on how fast you can, how it tells the player you're about to die. But yeah, there's multiple different ways you can handle the mechanics. There's good ways, there's bad ways, and that's all it is to it. I do understand that because of the console generation of the original Xbox and then the 360, that they started throwing the regenerating health into games because, you know, you're playing on consoles, you don't have the easiest way to save stuff, and because of how consoles handle themselves, you can't save the game right where you are, because not only are you saving where your character's standing, but then it's saving all of the dead bodies and this registry and that registry. Was this wall blown up or not blown up? Does it have to load that? Does it not have to load that? And so that's really hard to do on disc-based games on the console, so it's easier to do checkpoints where they're like, okay, by this checkpoint, all these people will always be there, so it's easier to load. You know, the final thing that I want to say to you, because I explained the three basics health system that exist, but there's a health system that I would love to see in more games if they bring back the sort of static system, but also meld the regen in a certain way. So there's a game that was released on the original Xbox, which in my opinion is a precursor to Gears of War, is called Kill Switch. It's a third-person shooter. It's cover base. You can blind fire, throw grenades, almost anything you can think of Gears of War, this game relatively did first. How this health system works is you have a bar. You take damage, it decreases, and then it regenerates, but it doesn't go back to full health. So imagine playing Doom. All right, you're at 100 health. You get hit by a Baron of Hell hit, and you're down to 50 health. And then it regenerates, but it only goes to 88. You take some more damage, and then it regenerates. Now it's only at 69. Take more damage. Now it only regenerates to 62. And it keeps going until you get a health pack to go back up to 100. That's how Killswitch handles it.
That's actually a really nice way to do it. I'm just gonna say that that sounds really interesting
Yeah,
because it means that you have to be a bit tactical, but you don't have to be so tactical that you're effectively playing behind a rock.
yeah. I mean, it is supposed to be a game where you're supposed to use cover most of the time. You're not supposed to go in guns blazing because you can die almost instantly because you die really quick in this game. But it at least gives the player opportunities of being like, okay, you're able to take some damage, but there's going to be a point where like you need to make sure you get a health pack because packs in this game are very sparse. So there's that too. They're not like you find them everywhere. You'll find them at certain points, but you might get through like a very hard section and then finally get a health pack. So you're always at the balance of like trying to find the next health pack, but trying to be careful. So you can take some chip damage, but over time that's gonna, you know, dip you.
Cool. I wish I could play it.
I mean, you could emulate it.
No, you can't say that. You can't say that. Can't. No, that's bad. Oh, I can't say that.
Hey,
Wink.
um, yeah. Honestly, I don't know who made this game. I mean, it was published by Namco when they were still called Namco before they partnered up with Namco Bandai or Bandai Namco, whatever they're freaking called now. Whoever owns the rights to this would be awesome to see like a re-release HD remastered or something. Because I think more people should experience Kill Switch. It's a really cool game and a precursor to Gears of War. So
Cool.
I think that's all I can really say for this video, at least, because I don't want this to go too long. And I can go on forever, but not for this video. I don't want to waste people's ears or yours.
There is not another time. We could that those ears they're finite. You know.
But yeah, pretty much just having a fun little debate about that, and you know, letting people listen to this and see what they think. Agree, disagree, as you say, figure out the poll, and people seeing what they think is not exactly better, but exactly what they prefer, and what do they enjoy more in game design. Is that how you put it, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm not a fan of just flat out auto regen. I'm very interested in this diminishing returns auto regen, but I think I'm set for you kill dudes, they drop health. That's my preference. That's what Warframe does. That's what Borderlands does. That's what Diablo does. It seems to be a more modern way of tackling killing loads of dudes and not having to entirely worry about the cheap shots, the
Yeah,
cheap one
and wasting
shots.
time being like, "Where's the health pack? Where's the health pack? I only have 2 health."
Yeah, and then you find out it's just behind you on a shelf.
Yeah, pretty much. But I don't know exactly any phrases or taglines to say to end this, but I'll just say thank you so much for watching and listening to us talk. I don't know how often I'll be doing this, depending on what sort of debate lines I have and what friends are available to do such things. But it's a test run. It's fun. I enjoy it. Do you enjoy it, Zeno?
Yeah, it was a good thing, and the fact that it's limited didn't mean that we ran on for years.
Yeah. I can run on forever, and I was trying to make sure not to go in too many tangents. I kind of did still, but whatever. All right. So with that, I'm going to be ending this, and hope you guys have a wonderful day and take care. Bye.
Bye.